Every time you start SketchUp, the line tool will already be selected. That's this little pencil icon you see on the screen here. It can be found over in the drawing toolbar located here. There's also a rectangle tool, a circle tool, and an arc tool. These four are probably the most commonly used drawing tools in SketchUp. There's also a freehand tool and a polygon tool available there. Now to start drawing, you can choose to draw in any perspective. However, using one of the pre-selected elevation views or the plan view probably make it a little bit easier to start. If you select a top view like this, drawing in SketchUp actually becomes more like drawing on a piece of paper. Now to start our line, I'll choose my starting point and click with the left mouse button. As I pull away, you'll see a line dragging behind my cursor. If I move close to an axis line, that line will snap to the axis and actually change to the color of the axis. If I move in this direction, you'll see I'll snap to the green axis. By left clicking again, I'll end that line segment. And from here I can continue to draw lines in any direction. If I want to stop, I'll just press the escape key. This line that we've just drawn has some imprints points. There's an end point shown here as a green circle. On edge is a red square. At the midpoint we get a cyan circle. And then at this end point we get another green circle. Now these are also snapping points. What that means is as I bring my cursor close to that point, it'll snap, and by left clicking to draw some more lines, those points are now connected. I'll draw another line in the red direction and then continue down into the green direction. You'll notice I get a reference here to that midpoint on the left side. The line I'm currently drawing is now exactly half the length of that line on the left hand side. If I continue down, I'll get another reference off that end point. Now these lines are both exactly the same length. I'll left click and then connect those 2 points with another line, and I've created a rectangle. You'll notice at the same time a face was automatically created. I can delete that face by right clicking on it. That'll bring up a context menu. If I left click on erase, that face will be deleted. Now to recreate or heal that face, all I need to do is redraw any one of the edges that make up that face. I can create a series of 4 edges and a face all at the same time with the rectangle tool. I'll click with the left mouse button again to start, and as I pull away, you'll see I can draw a rectangle in any direction. Left clicking again will set the rectangle. Now both of these rectangles were drawn on the horizontal plane. The only hint SketchUp has as far as what plane you're trying to draw on is your current perspective. So by moving to a perspective more like this, I can draw a rectangle on a different plane. If I rotate around here and draw another rectangle, you'll see I'm not making a vertical rectangle. This is another horizontal. If I change my perspective just a little bit, SketchUp gets the hint, and now I can draw my rectangle in that plane. Probably the most important tool in SketchUp, and the one I know I use the most, is this button right here called Undo. By clicking on this, we'll back up through our previous operations. You never have to worry about making a mistake in SketchUp because you can always back up and try again. I'm going to move into a top view here, and we'll draw some more lines, but this time we'll add some precision to them. Instead of moving over to the toolbar to select the line tool, I'll press the L key, which is the shortcut to the line tool. I'll left click to start my line and pull up in the green direction. At the bottom right corner you'll see a box labeled length. That's the measurement toolbar. The number inside that box is the length of the line that I'm currently drawing. I can manually enter a length into that box to create a line with the exact measurement that I'm looking for. So if I typed in 22 space 1/2 and press enter, I'll get a 22.5 inch line. I didn't have to use the inch mark because our units right now are set up in inches. However, if I wanted to use feet in my dimension, I'd use the apostrophe. So we could use 1' space 3. That would be 1 foot 3 inches. I'll hit the R key to bring up the rectangle tool, and we'll draw a rectangle. You'll notice that this now has two dimensions in that dimension box out at the bottom. They're separated by a comma. I'll type in 1, 2, comma 2, 4, and that'll be a 12-inch by 24-inch rectangle. Now, if you look at these two numbers, the short dimension here, 12, is the first dimension. And if we reference this rectangle that we just drew, that short dimension is actually aligned with the red axis. This will always be the case when you're drawing a rectangle that has an edge that's aligned with the red axis. So if I typed in 2, 4, comma 1, 2, enter, you'll see my rectangle still 12 by 24, only now it's oriented with that 24-inch dimension along the red axis. If you're drawing a rectangle that doesn't have an edge aligned with the red axis, the length along the blue axis will be entered first. If you look at this rectangle we've just drawn, that 18 and 7/8 inch dimension is aligned with the blue axis, and that one comes first. So if it has a red axis, the red dimension comes first. If it doesn't, the blue dimension will come first. There is one exception to this, however, and we'll talk about that when we get to the last tutorial. Swing over here and grab our circle tool. Circle tool is pretty easy to use and understand. First we'll set our center point by clicking with the left mouse button and then pull out to the radius we're looking for. Once it's set, we can always go back and change the radius by entering a new number into the measurement toolbar. So say 9 inches, and the circle will automatically resize. Now, just like the line and rectangle tool, I can continue to enter new measurements into the measurement toolbar to resize this circle. That is, unless I've moved on to another operation. If you look at that label on the measurement toolbar, as I select the arc tool, you'll notice that the radius label is gone, and I've lost the input for a new radius. That's because I moved on to the arc tool. With the arc tool here, we've got two inputs to make. The first is the length, which will be the chord of the arc, or the distance that the arc will span. We can enter that manually in the measurement toolbar too if we want. The second is going to be the bulge. The bulge is the distance that line is moving away from our original chord. You'll notice I've got a green line in this case. That's telling me that I'm actually bulging in the green direction. If I move up in this direction, you'll see I'm on the blue axis, which means I'm bulging straight up here. And if I move slow, I'll get a new reference right here when I reach the half circle. So now this arc is a half circle. I'm going to move to the top view one more time, and we're going to draw a square. We'll make this 3 inches by 3 inches, and I'll zoom in. I'm going to select the line tool by hitting the L button and start drawing some lines across this face. When you start drawing lines and shapes on top of one another, something starts to happen. If you notice, I've now got 4 individual faces. These lines have actually cut across this face, and if we go up to our line, you'll see we've actually got new endpoints and midpoints. These lines have been divided. I can use these new snapping points to draw additional lines, which will again redivide those lines. Now if we use some of the other tools in combination, we can start to create more complex shapes. So I've just snapped my center onto that endpoint, and instead of entering my radius in the measurement toolbar, I'll snap to this endpoint. You'll see in the measurement toolbar down there under radius, it's set at 3/4 of an inch. That was set just by snapping onto that endpoint. I'll do another circle, and we'll grab the line tool, snap to a midpoint here, move up in the green direction, and last I'll select an arc tool, snap to this midpoint, and as I move up in this direction, you'll see I'll get a new type of imprints. I've got a magenta line here. It's telling me that this corner is clipped at a 45. What this will do for me is that if I click and then start my bulge, I'll get another magenta reference. It says tangent to edge. By clicking again, I'll set that arc, and then what I've done is created a smooth transition around this corner. It's similar to what you get with a roundover bit. I'm going to select the eraser and start getting rid of the waste that I don't want. I can click on these lines individually, or by holding down on that left mouse button I can select multiple lines to erase. As I start to get rid of these extra lines, you may start to see a shape emerge that you're familiar with. What we've created here is a Roman Oji detail. Now this new face can be used as a profile and turned into moldings when we move into 3D. It can also be rescaled and used more like a router bit to put an edge on any piece of stock we choose, like a countertop or even a mantel shelf. The best part is that now that we've gone through the process of making this, we can save it and use it in any of our future drawings.